Hello there! Welcome to a relatively quick tutorial on how to do the fan mod for the 2006 R1. This is the 5VY generation, so this reaches from '04 to '06 specifically. You can really do this as any bike, as long as it has fan connections that are easily accessible, and then you could tie into the battery. The reason you want to do this, especially on the R1, is to be able to manually toggle your fans on well before the fan curve. So for those of us who don't have our ECUs flashed, this lets you turn them on well before 220 degrees. So instead of being extra crispy, you can lower that curve just a little bit and make it just a little bit more tolerable. This allows the fans to stay on as long as you want them to. Just do note that if you leave them on, you will drain your battery if the bike is not running. Alternatively, you can put them on a momentary switch, so one that it only turns on when you're holding it, so if you wanted to hold the button at the light. But for the purpose of this video, I'm using a flip switch toggle. I call it a momentary switch the whole time through the video, so I apologize for that. But there's a couple different options, as you see here on the left. You can go with the one that I have, which is just a little flip switch, or you can go for like a button if you like big red buttons. Just note that anything that has a light on it will slowly drain your battery. So yeah, those are some options for you, but it's really the only thing you need, just that, some wire, and a couple connectors if you want to make everything look nice and pretty. If you want to do it ghetto style, you can just add a little bit of electrical tape and call it a day. But there's a few options like I talked about through the video. When you get to your fan heads here, you're able to splice them in for a more permanent connection, or you can simply just push the wire into the connection where it already is and zip tie it down and then tape over it, which is what I do in the video. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Other than that, I'll get along with the video. So you got multiple options when you decide to wire these. Mine's going to be in the seat here for today. There's going to be the option to have your switch up in the front by your odometer slash tack slash whatever. I used to have it here on the headlight when the headlight's plugged in. However, since I just replaced my headstay bracket, I don't really want to be sticking extra things on there. So I'm going to be feeding mine today through here, underneath the chassis and the frame here, and then I will find the right fan header here, and the left fan header here. Oop, the bar's in the way. Left fan header here, and then I'll be plugging those in, and I'll show what they look like when I'm done. So these aren't really hard to feed through here. Typically, you just stick it there, stick it through the frame. I have my fairings off right now, which makes it a little easier for some of the other stuff. But you'll see that it will peek through here eventually by the idle screw. These aren't terribly difficult to route. You're just going to take your little harness if you're in the trunk here. Depending on how you're going to do this, if you're going to be up in the front, all you have to do is feed your battery lead all the way to the front. And then from the front there, you will feed your cables that are going to attach to the fan to, you're going to feed them back. But for me, I'm taking mine under the tank here, so I will just be feeding that through the frame, tuck that under there, loop it around here, and I will be tucking this all the way up to the front. I'm going to do this on this side, I'll do it on the other side, and then I will show you how I'm attaching these to the headers. So we have our lead running from the battery, so this is just a typical like 12, 18, 16, whatever gauge wire you want to do. You're going to snake that through underneath here, follow it around, just tack it under the frame wherever you want it to be, nice and snug. And then here's what your fan connectors are going to look like. My harness is a mess, but you'll be able to find them pretty easily. The blue wire is the one you're going to want to stick something into, so here's just a copper wire. We will just stick that there for a second, our momentary switch, and it fell out. Okay. Okay, so we have our little copper wire here just attached to the momentary switch. That's going to be going into the blue side of the fan connector seen here, and we turn it on. That will turn your fans on. Now, you just got to make this look a little bit nicer, either tin it or stick it in there. You also have the ability to pull this back here and splice it in. So once you push that in there, you can just zip tie those two wires together, and then if you'd like, you can cover this with electrical tape. That's all I'm going to be doing today, just to make sure it stays watertight. Okay, here it is all wrapped up. I apologize for how choppy this video ended up looking. But yeah, as I talked about earlier in it, you're allowed to really put that switch wherever you want. If you want to drill a hole in your triple tree, you could do that to put a little button switch there. Personally, I would recommend not putting it somewhere where it's easily accessible for somebody to look by and see and tap, because people like pressing buttons and flipping switches. But at the same time, it should be something that you can reach. That's why I put mine under my seat. I'll typically turn this on before I go anywhere if it's hot out, and then just from my bike and don't turn it off. And then if I want to turn the fans off, I just take the little rear seat out and then turn them off. But if it's up in the front and it's easily accessible to you, people can switch it, but that's up to you. That gives you the liberty to really put this wherever you want. I just wouldn't put it in the path of anything where it's going to be pinched or pulled off.